kind of like the world is coming in on you. Like, we're never going to get ahead. Like,
please don't let that rub off on my son. Please don't let my son be that guy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode, episode 14 of Glued Together Podcast. We are so happy you're here. We've got some great questions lined up. Thank you, everyone who has been dropping your questions.
Yes, all about the questions.
In the description box, you will see a Google form. These are anonymous questions.
Yes, obviously you could always share who you are if that feels important to you, but anonymous is an option.
Yes. And also in that form, you can provide your email address. We have a big announcement happening later this month. And if you are on our newsletter, which I say a newsletter like we've been putting out newsletters, but we haven't.
We haven't yet.
Yes.
But we have been collecting emails, which is exciting.
Yes, exactly. So if you leave your email, you are opting into getting a newsletter from us, and everyone on the newsletter will hear the news before everyone else.
Yes, exclusive.
Yes. So if you have a question, go there. If you want to be on the newsletter, go there also. But yeah, excited for today's episode. Yeah. I've got some coffee in my veins, which I have been back to drinking tea, actually. So I'm feeling a little...
Extra?
Yeah, I feel hot. It's not like a hot day, but I feel kind of hot. Mm-hmm. Sorry, our very good background is fidgeting here. There we go.
I think I did it. I think this pillow has...
All right, get rid of that pillow. It's not your today. What about the I love you pillow? You like that one? Okay. I always put a little pillow under my bum. How are you doing? How are you, babe? I feel like it's been a busy week.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you, and it's going to be a busy weekend, so...
True. Yeah.
Starting tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing readings at a party tonight.
Exciting.
So I'm excited. I've wanted to be a party girl for a while now. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done something like this at a party, so it'll be fun.
What is it that you're doing?
I'm doing soul growth readings, which is astrology reading and energy reading sort of together. But astrology chart is a big part of it. So good stuff. I'm excited to do it. And I thought it was just going to be 4 people and just got a text that it's actually going to be 7. So I need to bring snacks and be fueled.
Oh, so it's going to be longer.
Yes, it'll be a little longer.
All right, that's, fine. Just,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. It'll be good. I just definitely take breaks and hydrate and fuel.
Snacks, yes. Yeah. But that's a big jump. That's awesome. That's exciting. Jaylee and I have been taking as often as we can. We've been taking these nighttime walks. Like Antler goes to bed. They've been really good. Just like for movement. First of all, you know, our jobs really are pretty sit down. You know, I'm sitting I bought one of those additions you can add to your desk so you can stand. But besides chasing around Antler, we're pretty sedentary.
Yeah. I mean, I go on my Peloton bike in the morning before I start work. So that's always really good. But I need to be stretching yesterday. So I had a proud mom moment of mom bossing, because it was I did my cycling in the morning and I got all my work done, which meant I was sitting down, typing and creating and whatever. And I finished with that and I had to go get Antler, and I literally felt like I pulled my hip out of the socket. It was just wait a second, I obviously did not stretch enough. So I picked up Antler and
That can't be your mom boss moment.
No,
that was your I'm getting old moment.
The mom boss moment was that I convinced Antler to do yoga with me after school. And my body was you need yoga. And I'm I have to be a mom. How am I going to do yoga? Right. And then, so we did cosmic yoga, which is also on YouTube. If you've never done it, I tried doing it with Antler when he was only 2 or 3 and he didn't have the attention span. But now that he's 5, it actually was fun. We had a good time.
I heard you guys had hot cocoa after.
Yeah, we had some hot cocoa.
Antler informed me he had 16 marshmallows.
Yeah. Yes. He definitely was pushing the marshmallows.
He's a good negotiator.
It's cosmic yoga. And we have this like a friend of ours gifted it to us years ago, and it's amazing. Like it like puts like stars like on the ceiling, and it has a Bluetooth so you could put music and we like dance. But we used it for the cosmic yoga, and it added like this extra layer of fun. So
that's fun.
Yeah.
So on the walk, you were like, I have 4 people at the party. I thought there'd be more. And now literally it hasn't even been 24 hours and you have 3 more people. So, which 20 minutes a person, that's another hour. You know what I mean? So that's a long.
Yeah.
You are going to be tired tonight.
Yeah, either that or honestly, when I get back from these things, I'm usually wired for sound. So yeah, like when I come back from my new moon stuff. Well, yeah, that's true.
It really depends because your new moon stuff, you're like dancing at the end. True. It's very high vibes.
True.
Not that a party isn't going to be high vibes, but it's gonna.
Yeah, no, I guess it'll depend. But a lot of the times I do need to like wind down, and maybe going for a walk would still be nice. I would say my glue has been our walks. I've been definitely really, really feeling the walks. I mean, it's cold, but we like bundle up and.
It's not too cold though, right? Like it's
almost got hit by a car because somebody was driving with no lights on, and we had to like cross the street, and I just so happened to see this car with no lights on. It was so scary.
Yeah.
I like saved us. Bless you.
Thank you. I've been sneezing so much because I'm drying out. I can feel my body like a sponge just drying out with all of this forced heat and stuff, and my body not being used to it. Sorry. Yes, so the walks, we almost got hit. Scary. But the walks have been great. I mean, I was trying to think of my glue. I know we're like jumping a little ahead, but it's our podcast. We can do whatever we want. Maybe it's like, I like that. Like, I could definitely say that those are our glue, like, because they just seem to reconnect us, especially after this last week, which we're going to talk a little bit about before we get into our questions. So I think for us, I think you're right. Actually, I would agree that our walks have been our glue for this last week. Also, what I was thinking about for my work day, like my glue on Monday, I went to my computer and there was like a little sticker on the computer. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet, because Antler likes to leave, like, you said it once and I love that you said that, is like Antler's love language is stickers. Like putting stickers on your stuff. Like if he's thinking about you, he'll grab a sticker and put it on something, even if it's not supposed to go there. So I have like this sticker on my MacBook, but then, so that was Monday, but then on Tuesday morning, he put this big old obnoxious sticker on my mouse. Like I have like a portable mouse, and it's like this big Hulk sticker, you know what I mean? Not the sticker I would choose, but and yeah, it was just really cute. And it's like moments like that, I think, after the last week, which I guess we could just dive into, has been really hard.
Yes.
Really hard.
Yes, it's really hard. We're leading into the Scorpio new moon this weekend. It's officially on Monday, and it's just like a heavy time. Scorpio season is a heavy time. It
feels heavy.
The most intensely emotional, like bring you to your knees, emotional death time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that. It feels like it is. I don't know if anyone listening is like, because I feel that. I feel like I felt like, I think the other night I was like, I think I'm depressed, like not in a joking way, but not in a super serious way. Just like, I am not feeling motivated. Like last week was really hard for me. I'll speak just for myself. Like for us as a couple, but I think for us as a couple, because individually we had things going on. And so it was hard to come together as a couple.
Yeah.
And so I just felt really, kind of like the world is coming in on you. Like we're never going to get ahead. Like thinking about, where we're living now, and, just only able to focus on the negative things, and just really having a hard time coming out of it. And I've said this before, and I'll continue to reference it, because I used to smoke weed when I felt like shit, and it helped. And I think that in a lot of ways I used marijuana as like abusive in some ways, but very medicinal in other ways. Like, and I think that specifically when it comes to, I don't feel like I have like ADD or anything like that, but I definitely have anxiety. And I used to smoke, and all of those anxiety feelings of like the world is caving in on me, it would just relieve me of those feelings, and I could focus on what was in front of me, and I could see glimpses of like positive stuff happening when I was in those like dark moments. And I don't smoke anymore or I don't use marijuana medicinally or, recreational anymore because I started having panic attacks. So it kind of flipped from, and I think that's when I just was using too much and too often. So now I just feel, and it has been, has it been 2 years? It's been almost 3 years in February. And I still don't know what to do when I'm having that thing. So, sorry, I was just going to say so I find myself wanting to use something else to numb those feelings. And so it's really hard because that's my go-to. And so what I've been trying to do specifically parts of last week and into this week is like not reaching for something else to numb me out, whether that's like, just going on social media instead of working and spacing out, or you know what I mean, not being present with Antler, or like having a beer, you know what I mean, like using another substance to numb that out. And that has been hard too, because it's like, not only am I feeling all of these feelings, I'm dealing with the way in which I'm so conditioned at this point. I've conditioned myself to numb that part of me, that I'm like, it also feels like I'm also dealing with all of those temptations of like, I could just like not do a lot of work today and ditch it. Like I could do all of these things, but I'm trying so hard to not. And it's very tiring also, I think.
Yeah. Exhausting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying something.
No, I don't think I saying something. I think I was just trying to kind of confirm that like that's what I've seen from you. And I remember that time period where like you did stop using, plant medicine, because it became not medicinal, and like it's been a really hard journey for you, I think, and for us. And I do think that different things, different time periods come up in our lives where like the stress level is like upped, and like, and I just feel like at that time period, that was 2020, and like the stress, not only for us, but like for you, like when all of your work was like ripped from you, and like how much more anxiety that you already had, like, like I just feel like, like so much compassion for that time period for you, and like, what it must have been like to like reach for your medicine and feel like, why isn't it working? And why do I feel like worse on some level? And so, like I have seen you search for new medicine and new ways of supporting yourself, and just like feel like really helpless in the process. And like, I mean,
it's the resetting the dopamine. It's really resetting it, and that's really hard, and it takes a long time depending on the person and the thing that created it. You know what I mean? So, so that's kind of like where I've been. Just again, it's not even like one particular thing. It's just like, just thinking about the future, I think really bummed me out. Just like, we're trying so hard to save, and we are saving, like, but again, sometimes you just have those moments where you're just like, there are positives, but I can't think of any. And all the negatives outweigh the positives. It's like the negative is huge and the positive is this little blimp, or a little speck. And it's really hard on the person. And so that's how I've been feeling, and it's been affecting our relationship. You want to share how you've been feeling?
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about like not having the medicine that you used to use, and like searching for something else that really isn't there. Like, what comes up for me was like, it was cat medicine. Like us having cats, you know, that was my stress relief. Like having a cat on my lap to like soothe and purr and like be able to connect with that bliss of like connection with this furry thing. And so I've just been in a ton of grief over losing Lucky in the spring, right before we moved here. And, you know, the grief has risen to a new level because the house that we're living in got a dog recently. And so I am so resistant to the dog. Yeah. I'm not a dog person and I'm grieving my cat. So I just don't want to be bothered. And I just feel like I have a wall up to even going there. And it's just been really tough because we have shared spaces. And so there's no avoiding it. And, you know, the people in the house that are excited about the dog are extremely excited about it. And I'm just kind of like, I need to leave the room. Like, you know, so that's hard. And so, yeah, I think for me, I've just noticed that like I don't really have what I used to have either in terms of coping and in terms of like
even space. Yeah. Like you are much more introverted than I am.
Yes. I think that that's it too. Like the other glue this week for me was like we decided that we're not being social for Thanksgiving. Like that it's just going to be the three of us because we have that opportunity because everybody in the house is leaving and going elsewhere. We have the opportunity to just be us. And we realize that it hasn't just been us for 6 months. Yeah. That's how long we've been here. So that's when we left St. Petersburg, like, you know, abruptly, you know, because of all the anti-trans bills. And so the introvert in me is just like, yes.
It's only going to be a few hours. It's not like it's even that long of a time.
I know, but like, just like, you know, the shared space aspect, even like, you know, like just the shared space aspect has just been really a lot for my inner introvert and not being able to, you know, have that space. And so, yeah, it felt like a huge yes to myself and to my inner circle to like be like setting that boundary of like, no, thank you. Like we're gonna just do this alone this time.
Right.
And so, yeah, just leaning into that, I definitely am just in a lot of, like you were saying, just like recognizing old patterns and wanting to change them, and specifically around money and the way that we're like saving and trying to like save for a house and,
right.
You know, just recognizing old failures and, you know, that's really, really hard. And, you know, so just, I think that each of us as individuals are deeply in that, right? And our parts in that. And so we don't necessarily have much space for each other.
Right.
You know, especially when we're like cohabitating and parenting. And so,
Yeah. And I think, you know, I definitely want to talk about that, what you're leaning into. And real quick, I just want to say also that sometimes it's really hard to, like you were talking about failures. It's hard to see the successes when you're in what feels like a failure moment. Because we have been taught that success is linear. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
Like it's just, if you're successful, you're just like, you're just going up. You know what I mean? And there aren't failures and you're just constantly up, you know, and that's just not how it goes. And so it's hard to also be like, this feels really hard. Have we failed this whole time? You know, like you start getting in your head. And so what we wanted to share today was about what we talked about last night during our walk, which was like, it has been so hard to connect, you and I.
Yeah.
Both just like we haven't been hugging as much. We haven't been cuddling as much. Like I felt resistance to doing that with you, whether it's like sometimes I think it's subconscious, sometimes I think it is conscious. And it's not even like I'm mad, like I don't feel anger at you. I just feel like, ugh, like I just, you know, like I don't even want that, you know, like I don't want to do any of those things. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to cuddle. Like I just, you know, just kind of like, and I think that so often can first make the other person feel like you don't like them or something's wrong or you're mad at them. But I think also what we want to talk about today was the fact that doesn't mean that you're not in like a happy or successful relationship. It doesn't mean that everything is going downhill. It doesn't mean that, you know, it's okay. Like we talk so much about how like touch and having sex and talking and communication is so important. And if you have these moments where that's not happening, that it doesn't mean that everything has gone awry and now it's terrible. And even in what, again, like the title of this podcast is Glued Together, because we want to showcase that every couple you see that you might think has got their shit together and oh my gosh, they just look so happy together. They probably are, right? Like the hope is that they are, but that it's not always like that, and that there will be breaking moments, and you will need to glue the relationship back together. And so what I feel has happened in our last week and a half or 2 weeks has been, you know, I think saying a break is dramatic, but I do think that there needs to be a reconnection between the two of us. Like we need to glue ourselves back together, so that our relationship can be whole again, because it feels like there's a piece like missing. Do you agree or disagree with that? Or
yeah, and it's interesting because it's not even like we had some crazy fight.
No, I'm not
just
mad
like
at you.
Argument. Like it's not even that. It's like we are both so internally struggling with our own stuff that it's hard to really look at the other person, because you can see that they are struggling too, and you're like, wait, like I am holding all the weight that I can possibly hold, and I am at capacity right now, and I see that you are too, and like
I can't help you.
I can't help you.
I love you, and I can't help you
like,
right now.
There's no space, and so it's like, you know, finding like some small ways to like show up for each other. Like I try to recognize that, like, you know, like I felt really full yesterday with my schedule, and like you made me coffee, and that was amazingly helpful, and like felt loving, and like me like saying like we're gonna go on a walk tonight, like that, like just like you know, like just having something to like even present an opportunity to reconnect, even if that's not going to happen in that time period. It's like just like letting the other person know like where you're at on some level, I feel like is a really helpful thing. And, you know, it's not easy, because I know, and I could see, honestly, like there's beauty in it, right? Because like I can see my own growth, because I used to take these moments where we both needed space as red flags, because I had trauma in my past, you know, relationship. And, you know, it was like distance meant that I literally was losing them, and that like there was something wrong. And that like, so like Aiden and I have a really strong foundation built on love, built on trust, built on happy, you know. And so because of that, like I trust that like when we are taking space from each other, that it isn't a red flag. And like, that's a big growth moment for me. And therefore I can focus more on myself, and I'm not in a state of panic about the relationship. And I can just like try to take care of myself, because I know that the sooner both of us take care of ourselves, the sooner we can come together and offer each other support. And, I mean, there are really, really hard weeks and sometimes months, you know, sometimes years, like, you know, but like finding, you know, having the subconscious intention as well as like the actual conscious intention to reconnect at the next available opportunity whenever that is, because, being parents, like that opportunity
the window is small.
can fall by the wayside.
Yeah, it's true.
I remember like throwing a tantrum essentially, like one night where like we thought we were like coming home to a sleeping child, and he was wide awake waiting on the stairs for us.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed and upset because in my mind it was going to be a night between the two of us and no child, and it wasn't. And so it's like, just like knowing like, yep, there will be another opportunity and we're both looking forward to that, can be really helpful. It's interesting because the first question we have from our listeners today does kind of go into this topic.
Okay. I love it. Well, I do, but I think I just want to give everyone. So we're here today.
Yeah.
We are now conscious about what's been going on. It's kind of like, I want to answer, what did we do? So some of the things we did was just communicate. First, just read each other's language and just be like, clearly something's going on, right? Also communicate and just say like even when I'm like, I feel kind of depressed, like I kind of feel not great, like, but saying that out loud to Jane Lee so she knows, thinking about just other things we've been doing, right? So like you saw your friend today, you saw your friend on Saturday, like taking time out to do fun things, you know what I mean, that are fun to us. On last Sunday during Antler's play, you took Antler and I did a lot of errands and cleaning, and I actually like that. Like that's my version of my introvert is I want to clean the house, I want to vacuum, I want to go shop, like food shopping. That's something that makes me feel like I'm resetting. I'm setting up an opportunity to have a fresh start. So those were a lot of things we did. And then I think even again, like communicating to each other of how we're feeling and also not trying to take on, like, I feel like one thing we did different this last time is we didn't try to take anything on. Like I didn't try to fix anything for you because honestly, I just didn't have the space to, and it felt okay. That felt okay. As long as we weren't mean to each other, right? As long as it wasn't like, I have enough of my own shit going on. Like that was never the conversation. It was just more like, you tell me something and I'm just like, that feels really hard. And that's it. Cause I don't actually have anything to give to you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But at some point I will again. So, so just like, I just wanted to kind of full circle where we were and where we are now is like, we're not even on the other side yet. Like but now we have like, we're like, okay, we've got a busy weekend. We don't have that much time together, but we do have, it's Veterans Day. I'm going to be with Antler all day and Friday. Like we have things going on, but we have an opportunity to reconnect in the next few days. And so that's like our intention.
Yeah.
When that's going to happen, I don't know. Hopefully maybe Saturday night, like thinking about the nights. I don't really know, but in general, like the goal in the next 3 days is to reconnect. And I think that alone is a really powerful thing.
Yeah.
And if we both make space and find that time, I think that we can set up for the next week really fresh and good.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now your question.
Okay, great. Okay, question, anonymous question. My wife and I'm FTM, have a 3-year-old daughter. She's stopped breastfeeding for almost a year now. Our sex life hasn't been the same since getting pregnant, and breastfeeding has made them pretty much off limits to me even still.
I feel that.
How have you guys been able to, if you have been able to, get back to the sexual intimacy while still being parents? I feel like we either can't find the time, or when we do, we're just exhausted.
Preach.
Yeah. What is something... Oh, no. That's another question. Sorry. Okay, so that was it. Thank you for this question, because this is something we have experienced.
This is us. That's us in a question.
Yeah. I breastfed Antler for 3 years.
Till he was 3. Same thing here.
Yeah. And exactly.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I think because my body was it wasn't mine during those years. Like I just accepting like it wasn't mine, and it like wasn't able to be shared in the same exact ways, and so there was this uniqueness during that time period, and patience, and I think like we did talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I think I joked a lot about it because it was the only way to handle it in a lot of ways. Like I think that I would just make little like jokes like Anne would be breastfeeding and I'd be like, oh, like, isn't that nice? Or like joking about how he took her from me, so to speak, both physically because she was always holding him and it was like, oh, like I used to get all those cuddles and pets, but also like with your breasts, like, oh, like I used to have access to those and now I don't, because exactly what this question is you get touched out. You're like I don't want you to touch my boobs. They're touched all day long. Like this child is literally eating from my body multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Like get away, especially in the first year. And then they start getting teeth and then like your nipples could get hurt and like you've got to put this like gel on them and stuff. So
they were in full-time work mode. And so, there were times where they're like,
no, thank
personal
you.
day, thanks.
Right.
Well, not even day. There can never be a day, but personal 2 hours. Right. Like, whatever. So I think, and even breastfeeding aside, like even postpartum, right? Like, because like depending on, how you gave birth or if you gave birth, like there's all different situations, but for me, like it definitely took some healing time. Because I gave birth naturally, and
even if you give birth with a C-section, it's like you need time. Like you just had a major surgery or you had a major body function of birthing a child. So there's time, there's stitches, there's healing, there's
all of it. Yeah, like no matter what, there's so much healing that has to happen. And I think for us, like, like just being able to name the grief, like I know, like, oh, like, it was so different. Or when was the last time we had a date night? We used to be on top of those like clockwork, like it was, but I do think that we put in the extra effort to navigate like it has to happen, right? Like because it's something that we both really want. So like how can it happen? And like I know like we live near family now, right? And like but we did not for
his whole life up until the last 6 months.
Yeah. And so
4.5 years.
Like if family came to visit, we definitely always made sure we took advantage and said like ahead of time, we're like on that Friday night, we're going to go on a date. And we ended up, taking advantage of some parents' night out things.
Yeah, the YMCA had these parent night outs.
I think even one of his schools offered like a parents' night out every once in a while. And so like we just tried to take advantage of those things. We definitely had anxiety about finding a babysitter and everything like that. But if it's something that you feel comfortable with and putting effort into, I definitely recommend figuring out a way to get some space from your child.
When he was in, like, he went to school, but it was like, it was kind of like a daycare, I guess. It was school, but it wasn't kindergarten or pre-K or anything. Sometimes, like, we would take a lunch date or a morning date. Or, if I had a break at work, when I was working full time at Trace, like, I would be like, oh, I'm just going to take this morning off and we'll hang out. And then, so yeah, I think that was definitely how we managed. And we didn't have a lot of sex in the first year of Antler being born.
Yeah.
Just
especially because we co-slept and like we had him, you know, in the room and
we were
it
tired.
wasn't until like we started putting him to bed in his own bed and in his own room that we started to have more space.
It's interesting. That's why I feel like this question is so relatable to us. Like we could have written this question if we were at 3 years with Antler.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we didn't have sex in 3 years.
Yeah.
But we did not have a lot of sex in those first 3 years. Like we just didn't, because we would choose to sleep instead of have sex. We would choose to like have a glass of wine and watch a show instead of have sex. Because sex takes a lot of energy. And there's a... Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that like you have to, both people have to like be ready for it. And like if one person is like touched out and the other person is just tired because they, you know, maybe they took on a lot, you know, whatever the case may be, like both people have to be able to meet up in this moment of like wanting to be naked together and like be intimate. And like that takes a lot of mental, emotional, spiritual, physical energy. Like it's all like, it just takes all parts of you being on board. And like, especially like, you know, if you really want to enjoy it and be present, like, so I think that
we started scheduling it.
At
one point we were like, we need to have sex. We're going to schedule it.
Yeah.
At like minimum one time a week, we will have sex on this day. And it was like, get ready, be prepped, do whatever you need to do because it needs to happen. Because again, it for us, and I say this a lot, it's like, I really think one of the main differences for us, and maybe a lot of people out there can relate, is like, we are best friends, but we have sex, which makes us more than like a couple in a relationship, married. Like, you know, that is one of the biggest, especially because we are pretty intimate in our relationships with other people, not in a physical way, but in a very emotional way, that we, you know, that is a big, it's a connection that I only have with Jenny Lee that makes us closer than any other relationship I have. You know what I mean? And that is a very, again, in our world, is a very sacred thing.
Right.
And if you can relate to that, you know, then it's important to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, whatever you have to do. I mean, whatever, you know, cause like what is going to make you in the mood, right? Like what is going to invite you to want to be naked and touched or, you know, like, and whatever that looks like. I mean, I'm a bath person. Like I really love baths and like, you know, like just, but Aiden doesn't, that's not what's going to help him, you know? So it's thanks. Like, whatever it is, like you have to create the space. Right. And so, I think we just started to schedule it, which we've mentioned on another episode. Like I was very against scheduling it. So I was like, that's not romantic. And it's happen. Like, you know what? Now to me, now it is romantic. Now I get to look at my schedule and see.
You're like, I'm having sex that night.
And I'm like, what am I going to wear? And like, just like, you know, just, and knowing that like we still get to that night and be honest with each other about, you know what, like I really wanted it and like I don't think I can do it, or like I'm too tired, I'm so sorry, you know. And like we've gotten in the habit of like, you know, really just like holding that space for each other and not being overly disappointed because like it happens. I mean, it's not always going to be perfect, but if you have the recurring appointment, the recurring date, then, you know,
it'll happen eventually.
It's just like anything else. Like sometimes your appointments or your meetings have to be rescheduled, but they're going to be rescheduled. Nobody's going to just never come back.
Right.
You know, so it's like, it's
hard. It can feel like no fun, but then after you do it, you're like, oh, that was fun. Like how many times have we gone like an obnoxious long period of time and then we have sex and we're like, why don't we do this more often? Yeah. That was fun. Yeah. Like, yes, high five. Well, that was great.
But
like,
that's
what
always
are we
been our style. Like, we'll do it a lot, like for like a spur of like a week, like, you know what I mean? And then like we won't do it. Like, it's just every couple's different. You know what I mean? And so
the more time that goes by, the harder it is.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, I think that's for us. I don't know. Like, I don't know. We've never talked about to other people about this.
No.
So maybe let us know, like in the comments, like, is it feel like if you've gone a week without having sex, you're like, we have to have sex? Or is it more like, okay, well, like we can just keep sidelining it and keep sidelining because you get into the routine. You're just like, I've lived this long without it, you know, or like.
Yeah. And it gets sidelined because it's vulnerable. Like we're holding so much emotionally and like we have so much responsibility, especially as parents, that like it's the first thing to go, unfortunately. And the only way that it's not the first thing to go is if we say, no, this is a priority. Like this is on the schedule. And the only way it gets rescheduled is if one of us thoroughly decides that, no, I cannot do this.
And and you just spend time together then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you spend time together.
We decide to do something else that is less, that is more, it's lower lift, right? Like it's like, oh, like, I don't think I have it in me to get naked and be touched, but I would totally like just like cuddle, have a glass of wine and like talk or like whatever.
Watch TV, like whatever, you know? Is there a question of, is there something about body in there, or was it, because I know we were like, oh, the breasts are off limits. How do you deal with this? But I think it just took time for Jane Lee to get more comfortable with that. Like breasts again. And, you know, like, I think that came over time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had a lot of issues.
Who knows? Maybe
breastfeeding. So I just had a lot of like traumas to recover from postpartum.
It's funny though. You know what I'm thinking about right now? Maybe this is too intimate, but I think we've already told everyone, like, this is a TMI podcast pretty much. So, you know, it is what it is. If you know us, if you're friends, if you're family, you know, it's your choice. You could leave now if you want.
Yeah. And
we literally had a family member from another family member tell me that they were like, it's a little TMI. Like they need to put like a trigger, a warning for family and friends. It's like, but this is your warning. I'm telling you now.
Yeah. Like we saw like one of our neighbors and they're like, oh, we love the podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, oh,
cool,
thanks.
Cool. Like I just, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, you know what?
It's happening.
It's all out there. Right. And if you're listening, then you're listening.
Yes. So, but I was going to say is like, I'm really into Jane Lee's boobs right now. Right?
Yeah.
I wonder if this is one of the reasons.
Because you have them back.
Yes. That's so funny.
Outside of me, you're the most favored person.
My most favored breasts.
There's nobody else that has dibs.
Yeah. But I don't know. I've never like, you know... I don't know. It's just definitely a thing. Like I've definitely just noticed that, like, you know, see, so that's interesting. Maybe this is a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have your boob moment coming up. You're right around the corner, my friend. It's happening.
Yes. No, it does. You know, the darkest night does come right before the dawn. It does. And it does in parenthood. Absolutely. 'Cause it's like, you feel like this phase is never going to end. And then all of a sudden it's
5 years later.
And you're literally like, wow, like I kind of miss, because I mean, I definitely feel that way about breastfeeding. I do miss breastfeeding.
Because he was sweet
in the cuddly,
cuddled,
bonding way, you know.
Antler is not, he has his moments of being cuddly, but he's very much like,
and I feel like he's that way with me, especially in the mornings, because we built that together. Right. He was used to being that way.
He's cuddlier with me when we're in bed.
Yeah.
He's cuddlier. But outside of that, I can barely get this kid to give me a hug. Mm-hmm. But he'll play with me.
Yeah. And
like,
talk about grief. Like, you know, when I had Lucky on one side of me and I had Antler on the other side, and I just had so much love. Yeah. And now I don't have those things, either one of them.
Yeah.
So there's so much grief in parenthood. I think that's it too. And it's like, like you grieve the sex life you had before the kid came. And then all of a sudden, like, you're not breastfeeding anymore and you're grieving the breastfeeding, but now you can have the sex again. And it's just, it's always something. And, you know, so I would just
stick with the kids. You got this.
And I would just be honest with each other and like just forgive each other. I think forgiveness is such a big thing, and like, you know, not taking it personally, because even though you weren't doing the breastfeeding, you were picking up a lot more like other things, you know what I mean? And so just like knowing that like parenting, like, you know, like when you're both like signed up to like do this together, like it's a lot on both people in different ways. And yeah, you just put that appointment on your Google Calendar.
Yes. For all the other parents out there, leave your comments on what you did to get back into it.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
I feel
like I want to move my mic or something.
Okay.
I'm feeling, no, not right now, just in the future. Well, I want to try like a front angle.
Yeah. Well, good, because I always feel like I'm like futzing with my mic.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know which way to sit. And then I'm not facing the camera. And, you know, we're not fancy here, so I'm not getting 3 cameras, one on your face, one on mine. We can't, you know, like the pod, give us a like, subscribe, you know,
share.
Get some of those monetization dollars up, and we will happily buy more equipment.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Question number 2. What is something you fear the most as parents with the world being as insane as it is?
This is a parent episode. Global warming, climate change.
Say more.
I'm afraid that one of my bigger fears, so there's a lot, but I definitely think one that sits on the horizon is like, did we bring Antler into this world and he is going to have to deal with air pollution and water, like getting clean water and spending his time just navigating Earth and not even, you know, like just, I mean, mostly that, like, is he gonna have to worry about natural disasters wherever he lives? Like, oh, well, I live here, but there could be tornadoes and there could be flooding and there could be earthquakes and there could be wildfires. And do I have to worry about where I'm getting my water sources from? Am I getting poisoned by the food that I'm being served and that is legal here in the United States? Am I, you know, all of those thoughts of just, of getting clean air. Am I going to have to worry about getting clean air?
Right.
Am I going to have to, those things really, I think that really comes into mind. And then second, I mean, it's so many things to be honest, but second, that really, I have an unnervousness. I have a very high nervousness because I've never experienced it, is school shootings. It wasn't something that was when we were growing up. Like the fact, like I can get brought to tears to the fact that there are kids out there that have to literally practice a lockdown because someone might come into their school and shoot it up. And that is just like I get emotional just because it's just like, that's not okay. Like children, first graders should not be learning how to lock their doors because someone could come in and shoot them. Like, it's really fucked up. And I never had to practice school shooting when I was in school. I graduated in 2005. You graduated in 2003, 2002. This wasn't, you know, we had fire drills, we had bomb scares and bomb threats, but there was never like, bless you, it's a sneezy episode today. Yeah. We never had to practice that. You know, and that's really scary. So those are 2 of the most dramatic and scary things that I think about in our world today. I know that there's so many other things, especially, you know, going on, especially in the political realm, but those are 2 things that I just feel like have actually, you know, are really scary to me. So I'm curious what yours are. We've never discussed this before.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
I just think about, are the choices that we're making with him now going to show up later as bad choices that like affected him in a negative way? Like even down to us as a family choosing to share him so much because he was born into us as parents and we're very public. And so therefore he's...
Are we though? Are we that public?
Therefore he's public, right? Like people, have seen him grow up, is he going to favor that, when he realizes it, or is he going to be like, I can't believe you guys did that to me?
So going to be some system that's built that is an AI that knows his face.
Yeah. It's just, I think about that. Right. But I also am like, I believe that on some level, he chose us as parents. That's my personal belief. And that he kind of knew yes, this is the family that I want to be in, and for different reasons and whatever. So I trust that, but just overall, the decisions we're making, I'm even kind of obsessed about what's the right education style for him, right?
Right.
Because he is very different from me as a child, right? And so I think about what did I need? And I'm like, am I thinking about what I needed and wanting to give that to him? Because what I needed clearly is probably different from what he actually needs, because he and I are different.
Yeah, so that's something that comes up all the time.
Yeah, that we talk about a lot. Because, what clicks with me won't necessarily click with Antler.
Yeah.
So really trying to get on the same page with who he is, what he needs, what's going to benefit him. And, is something I worry that are we doing that, or we just think we're doing that?
Is that a world? Was the question about in this crazy world? Because that sounds a little more of a personal thing.
Yeah, it says, what is something you fear the most as parents, with the world being as insane as
so what's
is?
One of more like the two things I love what you named. I'm not saying that that's not relevant, but
I think I went off on a tangent with the second one. But with the first one, yeah. So the first one that I said, I feel like is relevant, right?
Yeah.
So making him public, putting his face in the public eye, so to speak.
So what would your second one be?
My second one,
that's a little more out of your control. Which I guess the first one is, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, because we don't know where we're headed with the internet and with.
Yeah, but I know I agree with the first one, but I'm curious if you have a second one that's a little more.
Yeah.
That is the world, whether it's a political, whether it's the earth itself, whether it's do you have any thing that you think about or have fears about? I think I know one that's yours, but I don't want to say it for you.
You might need to help me, because I definitely I focused on the tangent I was in. I'm not.
I think that's something that do you mind?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think that's something that you talk to me a lot about is the patriarchy and negative masculinity and the fears of if he's in sports, who's he going to be surrounded by? What's he going to be taught in school / just not even in school, what school's teaching, but more of just the other kids in the school. What are they learning from their parents? Because he is up until this point a man and a boy, a boy. So will grow into a man if so. Yeah. That's something you express to me a lot.
You're right. Yeah, I'm happy that you jogged my
and especially now with all the Andrew Tate stuff and all of this stuff about.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my biggest. I get very triggered by toxic masculinity, and my first thought when I get triggered or when I see it around me is please don't let that rub off on my son. Please don't let my son be that guy. I definitely have a fear of him turning into that, because especially because it's so our intention to lead him into a more healed masculine place.
Harmonious.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think that definitely is a fear. And I think that's why I cried when I found out we were having a male baby. Because I was like, fuck. You know,
I think we've said it before. We'll say it again. We we love you, Antler, baby boy, little cutie, but we thought a girl would have been a lot easier. Let's just be real. Because a girl would have just been like, you are powerful, you are strong, yes, we're definitely, you are queen. Yes, talk back, hold your own, be who you need to be. Right. And it's like, it's hard because you don't want to say because you are this little boy, you can't be who you want to be and have body autonomy and, take up space. But in a world that's built for you to have that already, it's like, do we really need to teach him that? Because the world is teaching him that already. So, but how do you, so like with the body autonomy, it's like, you don't want to be hugged? That's fine. You are not forced to hug anyone if you don't want to hug anyone right now. You are not forced to give anyone a kiss if you don't want to give them a kiss. You are not forced to, right? Like, so, you don't want us touching. You don't want to be, I'm tickling you and you tell me to stop, I will stop.
Teaching him consent has been important to us since like he started preschool. Like I literally, like he was gonna take a nap for the first time at preschool, and I remember he came home and said that he wanted to sleep next to another girl in his class, and so we arranged for him to ask for consent.
Like, can I take a nap next to you?
Yeah.
It's not like they were literally sleeping. They were in their own separate little cots, but they were like friends.
Just teaching that, like, yes, like that's really sweet that you want to sleep next to her. Let's make sure she's okay with that. And just like having that be something that he practices without even thinking about it. That like, yes, before I do something that I want to do with someone, I ask first.
Yeah.
If that's okay with them.
Right.
And so that has always been really important to us. And, I think that, you got to start young. I mean, this toxic masculinity doesn't just sprout up when they're adults. Like
it's literally little pebbles every day. And by the time you're 16, you have created a mountain or a hill of rocks. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's literally, that's how it goes. So it's important to start from the beginning and just, really showcase that for him also. And and we're in a unique situation now where we are around a lot of family and everything, so we're not the only ones like participating in this conditioning, and so there's opportunities for a lot of just watching
conversations.
No one sits you down and tells you how to be a girl or be a boy. Like even trans people, like some people are like, oh, maybe I'm not trans enough. It's like no one sat me down and was like, listen, this is how you be trans. This is the steps you take. This is who you need to be if you are going to call yourself trans. You just learn these things. And you're like, oh, well, if I'm gonna be, as a trans person, I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna be a man, then I have to do this and I should probably do that. And, and you start taking on personality traits that aren't actually your personality. And then you have to break that down and redistribute who you really are into your being and remove those parts of you that aren't you. So
I saw you do that.
Thanks. Sure. So that's a lot of. So that was my one that I thought for you. And
no, I'm happy you did, because I was like, obviously somewhere else, and I needed to be brought back to
there's a lot of things to be pissed at.
There's this thing that you talk about a lot.
There's a lot of things to be pissed at in the world, right? In this crazy world we live in. But we appreciate you for being here.
Thank you for asking these questions.
Yes, in this crazy world, we really, we're very thankful that we get to be, we get to reflect on this world together, and we want you to feel a part of this conversation. So please drop us questions, leave comments. We try to reply back to all the comments. Yeah. I check the comments, the ones that are like unanswered. So if you have, if you want to leave your thoughts, have conversation, please do so. Please like the video, subscribe. I would say turn notifications on. Yeah, share the video.
You can share it in different ways. You can group text it to your friends. You could share it on
Facebook, Instagram,
in a group.
TikTok.
You can share it, on Instagram. You know, just share it up so that we can grow this thing and keep answering all your amazing questions.
Yes.
And
we love
it's been, honestly, this podcast is the glue for us in a lot of ways.
It's been a lot.
Yes.
The tone of that came out not as intended. It's been a lot, and it's been great, and it has. I think that maybe by the time we get to episode 50, we'll be able to do a look back and be like, wow, look at what we've done and how we've changed in so many ways.
I wanted to update about my boot journey. So Aiden actually...
For anyone who's still here. Here's our boot journey.
Aiden actually was looking for something in a bin of ours and came across like 3 pairs of my boots that I thought I accidentally donated. So these are one of those pairs.
Yes.
And next week there'll be more to see and more to tell.
Okay. For all of those, you can jot in your journal tonight. Update on Jane Lee's boots. We've found them. All right. Thanks, y'all, for watching. We love you. We appreciate you. And bye.
Bye.